I watched them scramble, their false smiles and rapid nods giving away everything they tried to hide. Julian said that he would, book another room. Julian said that it was for Daphne, of course, right next to theirs. Make sure they're connected. We're family after all. Daphne said that connected rooms would be lovely. Daphne said that she had been meaning to spend more time with her cousin. Lie slid off her tongue like honey. In my last life, I would have believed it. I would have embraced her, thanked her for wanting to bond. Now I saw the truth. Every glance she threw at Julian, every subtle tilt of her head, every time she bit her lower lip while scrolling through her phone, she was performing for him, always for him. He loaded the car in silence. Julian insisted on driving, as he always did. I let him take the wheel, and let Daphne slide into the back seat. Last time, I'd sat in the passenger seat, front row to my own death. Not this time. Daphne, swap with me, Daphne asked. What? Sit up front. I want to stretch my legs in the back. Julian said that she hated the back seat, that it was cramped back there. I'll manage. Daphne looked at me, then at him. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second, a conversation happening in silence.
If Elena wants the back, let her have it.
Daphne hesitated, then climbed out and opened the front passenger door. She slid in, adjusting the seat, letting her fingers trail along the dashboard. I watched her hand touch the glove compartment, touch the gear shift, touch everything Julian touched. The air in the car grew thick. I rolled down my window, let the highway wind rush in. Julian turned up the radio. He wouldn't look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the road, scanning ahead, but his neck flushed, color crawling up his collar. Daphne gripped her phone with both hands, thumbs motionless. She wasn't scrolling. She was waiting. The car accelerated beyond the city limits, past the strip malls and suburbs, into the open stretch dividing our house from the coast. I recognized this road, knew every curve of it, every guardrail, every place a car could go wrong. In my last life, death had come for me in this stretch of asphalt. My heart hammered. My palms grew clammy. The sky turned gray, the sun disappearing behind a bank of silver clouds. The temperature dropped and drops began to fall. I watched Julian's grip tighten on the wheel, watched his jaw tighten every time a car passed. He was looking for something, an excuse. The car ahead of us was going slower than the speed limit. Julian's jaw locked immediately.
Look at this idiot. Can't drive. Shouldn't be on the road.
Buckle up. It's about to get bumpy. There's something in the road, left lane, just past that curve. The car swerved as he instinctively eased off the gas, his foot hovering between accelerator and brake.
What? I don't see anything.
I let go of the seat and settled back, heart slamming against my ribs.
You scared me. You screamed.
Julian's jaw had unclenched, but a muscle twitched in his temple. He was recalculating. Julian's travel mug from this morning, half empty, sloshing against the cup holder. I remembered that mug. I rolled my window up a crack, letting the cold air hit my face. It smelled like wet asphalt and salt. He glanced in the rearview mirror, his eyes meeting mine for a fraction of a second.
I'm glad we're doing this. The three of us. It's been too long.
On the other side, the ocean appeared a steel-gray expanse stretching to the horizon, white caps curling in the wind.
It's beautiful.
It was. I had loved the look of it too, the first time. Now it looked like a grave.
Almost there. You're gonna love the resort. Private deck, hot tub, ocean view, everything you wanted.
Sounds perfect. Julian laughed. A sound so familiar, so easy. It had once made my heart flutter. Now it made my stomach lurch. The resort parking lot was nearly empty. A 3-story building of weathered wood and glass, perched on a cliff above the ocean. I unbuckled my seatbelt, but didn't open the door.
This place is amazing.
Come on, let's get checked in.
The same hand that had wiped my blood off his skin. He held my hand as we walked to the lobby. The air smelled of salt and cedar. A fire crackled in a stone hearth. In my last life, this was the last time I felt his touch before the crash. Now I felt it differently as a leash, a trap, But I had made it this far. I had changed the script. The crash hadn't happened. They needed the resort, the isolation, a fresh opportunity. The elevator doors opened. Julian led me inside, Daphne following, her eyes on the floor, her lips pressed thin. Room 407. The keycard clicked, the door swung open. The room was beautiful.
Perfect.
Watching the two of them exchange a glance so brief, so practiced, I almost missed it.
Alone? The trails can be slick.
I'll be fine. I just need some air. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, my footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. I needed to think, to plan. I needed to memorize every detail of this place, the layout, the exits, the staff, the cliffs. Because I wasn't going to die here. Not again. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and mauve. I had 2 days to unmask them, to gather proof, to survive. And then I would write my own ending. This time, I'll make sure they taste every ounce of the suffering I went through. The next day when we left, I took the back seat without a word. My cousin gets carsick. Let her ride up front. Daphne's expression stiffened. Her hand froze midair, then dropped to her side. She stood there for a long beat, as if waiting for me to take it back. She turned and walked to the passenger door, pulling it open and sliding in. Her hands found the seat edge and gripped it tight. I buckled my seatbelt and the car took off. Julian's eyes flickered to the rearview mirror, his reflection a mask of tension. He said nothing. Julian's breaths came quick and shallow, his chest rising and falling in rapid rhythm. The highway unfurled ahead of us, the tires droning against the asphalt. The silence pressed in from all sides, thick and heavy. Then I saw it. That familiar white car appeared ahead of us, crawling along like a snail, just like last time. His jaw was set, his hands clamped on the wheel, knuckles white, but his lips stayed sealed. "Julian, what are you waiting for? Pass him."
I can't pass, babe. There's a semi on the left. It's too dangerous.
Sure enough, 2 large trucks I'd arranged in advance were waiting there, blocking the left lane like a steel wall. Their chrome grills gleamed in the dull light.
Elena, didn't you notice the truck on the left? How's he supposed to pass?
Go around on the right now. If this messes up my schedule, you can kiss your share of the monthly dividends goodbye. The moment money entered the equation, Julian's face went white. He gritted his teeth, and then he wrenched the wheel hard to the right. Tires screeched against the asphalt, a sharp cry of rubber on pavement. The car swerved, the chassis groaning under the strain. Daphne gasped and grabbed the door handle with both hands. Her knuckles mirrored Julian's pale and tight. Just as we finished switching lanes, the white car settling into the right lane. The white car behind us seemed to get some kind of signal. Its brake lights flickered, and then it began steadily accelerating. We hit 70, the speedometer needle climbing. It matched at 80, pulling closer. Daphne, like me back then, kept twisting around to look. Her head turned to the side every few seconds, her body trembling faintly. Her hands shook against the handle. She was scared. Good. This was the same fear I had felt, the cold dread of knowing something was wrong but not knowing what. 5 minutes later, the white car had closed the gap to a few car lengths. Then, with a heavy crunch, the collision happened. The sound of metal folding, glass shattering, the whole cabin shuddering. Julian instinctively threw his arm out to shield Daphne. His body twisted sideways, his arm crossing her chest. The car swerved left and screeched to a halt. Both vehicles came to a stop. A wreckage-strewn mess on the highway. Pieces of plastic and glass littered the road. Daphne was a bit luckier than I had been. Her foot was pinned under the crumpled dashboard, the metal pressing into her ankle. She whimpered, a soft, animal sound. But she was largely unharmed. The seatbelt had saved her, holding her torso firm. Julian scraped some skin off his arm. Not much blood, a thin red line that beaded on his forearm. He blinked, dazed. I sat in the middle, with nothing but a sore chest from the seatbelt cinching tight. Not a single other scratch. My bones were intact, my breath steady. But before either of them could recover their wits, another brutal hit smashed into us from behind. This one was far worse. The force threw us forward. Neither of them had refastened their seatbelts yet. In chaos of the first impact, they had left them unbuckled. Their bodies flew straight at the windshield. Julian's face pressed against the glass, his nose and cheek flattening against it. But the steering wheel had absorbed some of the impact, taking the brunt of the force. His injuries weren't severe. He groaned, his hands bracing against the wheel. Daphne wasn't so lucky. Her head split open on impact. The glass cracked in a spiderweb pattern as her skull struck it. Blood streamed down freely. A dark red river of red pouring from her forehead, mixing with the shattered fragments. She slumped sideways, her body going limp against the seat. I shoved the side door open, the latch giving way with a click. I burst out of the car, the air hitting my feet, hitting the asphalt. "Are you blind or something?" Daphne in her seat, covered in a dusting of shattered glass fragments that glinted like frost. Julian, teeth gritted, climbed out of the driver's side. The second his feet hit the ground, he spun and rushed toward the passenger seat.
Babe, let's get Daphne out first. She's trapped, she can't move.
I grabbed his arm and yanked him back hard. His momentum stopped short, his body swaying. "Forget it, our cousin's fine. Follow me now. The priority right now is hammering the driver who hit us." I dragged him along, my grip firm on his sleeve, forcing him all the way to the rear where that white car sat. The driver behind the wheel was a heavy-set man with a mean look, a beer gut jiggling as he swaggered over to us. His boots scraped against the pavement, his hands loose at his sides. But the moment he saw me, he froze mid-step. His entire expression shifted from aggression to recognition, then to shock. His eyes widened, his mouth dropping open.
You're not supposed to be here."
What do you mean, not supposed to be here? Are you blind? It's called a rear-end collision, got it?
The heavy-set man's eyes flickered. He shot a look toward the back, over his shoulder. There was a pause, a beat of silence. Then a burly man stepped out of the car behind them. He wore a very sincere expression, his hands raised, palms open. He approached slowly, his voice calm and even.
"Sorry, everyone. I hit his car, which forced him into yours."
His words hung in the air. He looked at me across the wreckage, past the crumpled metal, past the blood on the windshield. Not at Julian, not at the damage, at me. I kept my face neutral.
You hit us. You caused all this.
My gaze drifted past them to the passenger seat, where Daphne's still form was visible through the shattered glass. I kept my hand on his arm, ready to pull him back if needed. But for now I let him rage. Julian's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his eyes flicking between the rearview mirror and the road. She had her window cracked, a strand of blonde hair whipping across her cheek. A white car appeared around the bend, a flash of winding road, a flash of metallic paint, a blur of chrome. "Julian, watch out!" The white car slammed into the front passenger side. The sound was a wrenching crunch of metal and glass. The frame of the car buckled. Julian's right arm flew out, not toward me, not toward the wheel, but toward Daphne. His hand caught her shoulder, trying to shield her. The car slid sideways, tires screeching on asphalt, before jolting to a stop against the guardrail. The airbags deployed with a wet pop. Julian had already unbuckled his seatbelt. He was leaning over the console, his hand pressed against Daphne's cheek. His voice was low, urgent, a lover's murmur. I unlatched my own belt and climbed out of the back seat on shaky legs. My hands were trembling, because the crash had been real, the violence real. But I shoved the fear down and focused. The white car's driver was already stumbling out of his vehicle. He looked at the wreck, at Julian, and then at me. Julian straightened up and gave him a quick, almost imperceptible nod. I walked toward the driver, my mind cold despite the adrenaline. "I'll cover all damages. Full compensation, no tricks." The white car driver instantly swapped faces. Beside me, Julian kept stamping his feet in agitation, constantly glancing back at our car. Every time he tried to butt in, a single glare from me shut him right up. I reached out and snatched him by the collar. "This is my brand new car you just wrecked, and the whole thing's on dash cam. I can call the cops right now. You'll still be on the hook for the damages. Only now you'll eat a lot more trouble besides." The moment Julian heard the word dash cam, his face drained of all color. He leaned in next to my ear and whispered. I lowered my voice right back. The driver, seeing I wasn't someone to mess with, softened his tone. I glanced at the time on my phone. It had already been 15 minutes since the crash. I opened the camera app. "Fine. Then you say it on video, promise compensation, and we'll call it done." Seeing the time was about right. I let out a sudden shriek and sprinted toward the car. He pressed his lips tight and slapped her face firmly. Keeping up the act, I was wiping away tears right alongside him. By this point, Julian had dragged Daphne from the car. He knelt on the ground, clutching her tight in his arms. Her leg was bent at an unnatural angle. The fabric of her skirt soaked dark red. Julian's hands were covered in her blood, and he didn't seem to care.
Elena, if you hadn't made me go deal with that driver, Daphne would be safe by now.
I exploded on the spot.
Fine, I was rash in the moment. But what about you? Did you even think about what you were doing when that maniac hit us?
Julian stared at me, his mouth opening and closing without a wordless. He knew the wreck was his fault, even if only I knew how. I couldn't stand to look at him another second. I turned my back and walked off, my heels crunching on broken glass. A few minutes later, the ambulance arrived. Paramedics worked quickly, loading Daphne onto a stretcher. Julian tried to follow them in, but they pushed him back. He stood helpless, his hands covered in her blood. At the hospital, I called my Aunt Lydia. I made sure to sob into the receiver. Her condition, it's because of Julian. The words were barely out of my mouth before Julian lunged over and snatched the phone from me. Before he could finish, my palm connected with his cheek in a sharp slap. The phone clattered to the floor. A stern-looking doctor shot us a look. I leaned in close, right next to Julian's ear. I whispered it low, so only he could hear the steel beneath the tears. Aunt Lydia reached the hospital not long after. She came through the double doors in a blur of cheap perfume and panic, her eyes wild. The doctor's face was heavy with gravity. The high probability is amputation. Hearing that, Aunt Lydia's knees buckled. She collapsed to the floor. She wailed. Aunt Lydia had always schemed for Daphne to marry into wealth. I knelt beside her, putting a hand on her shoulder. I let the tears come, real and false all at once. Julian stood frozen against the wall, his face pale. He looked at me, and I saw something flicker in his eyes, suspicion, maybe. The revenge had begun, and I was just getting started. Julian had not moved from his spot against the wall. His hands were still stained, dried rust brown, now under the harsh hospital lights. I walked over to him, my steps slow, deliberate. He looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed, but there was no tears. I'm not offering sympathy. I'm offering you a chance to think. Julian's face went blank. I watched his expression fracture. I didn't want to use it. But if you try to pin this on me, I'll show them the footage of your car swerving before the impact. You were supposed to hit me, weren't you? But you miscalculated. You hit Daphne's seatbelt, or the angle, or your own reflexes. And now she pays for your mistake. His mouth opened, closed.
You're lying.
I tilted my head. Then why did your face go white when I mentioned the cam came up? He had no answer. His hands balled into fists at his sides. I left him there, pacing back toward the waiting room. A nurse hurried past with a tray of instruments. The double doors to Abraham through long straight corridor smelled of bleach and fear. Aunt Lydia had been helped into a chair by a volunteer. She sat with her head in her hands, her shoulders shaking silently. I sat down beside her. Lydia, they'll do everything they can. Daphne is strong. She lifted her head. Her mascara had run in dark streaks.
Strong? She's lying in there with her leg crushed. And you and Julian, you were fighting, weren't you? The doctor said the crash he said it was suspicious.
I blinked, keeping my expression soft. It was an accident, Lydia. A terrible one. Julian lost control. He's been under a lot of pressure lately. But I promise you, I will make sure he pays for what he did. I squeezed her hand, and I will be there for Daphne. Every step of the way. She clutched my fingers.
You're a good girl, Elena, a good girl.
I let her hold her gaze and let the silence stretch. Behind me, I heard Julian's footsteps approach, then stop. He was listening. Let him. The revenge had begun, and I was just getting started. But there was still work to do. I pulled out my phone and texted a number I had saved months ago. A contact I never used until now. The plan shifted. Daphne is the collateral. Keep the driver quiet. Next phase tomorrow. I deleted the message. The screen flickered. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and turned to face the window. The parking lot below was half empty. A single car is glinting under the yellow lamps. A man in a dark coat stood by a lamppost, smoking. He didn't look up. I knew that shape. He was one of Julian's men. Watching, waiting. I knew that shape. He was one of Julian's men. Watching me. I let a small smile cross my lips before I wiped it away. The game was far from over. Since Daphne was a little girl, Aunt Lydia poured money into dance classes for her, pouring out cash like water. Never could she have imagined things turning out like this. I wrapped my arms tight around my aunt. murmuring reassurances that it would be okay, but my eyes swept toward Julian like blades. If it weren't for your recklessness, how could my cousin end up lying in here? Aunt Lydia was crying so hard she was tearing at her own heart, completely deaf to any explanation Julian tried to offer. He stood by the curtain track, hands half raised, mouth opening and closing like a fish. I watched him, watched the way his throat worked, the way he kept glancing at the door, as if hoping someone would walk in and save him. The doctor pushed the door open one more time and let out a long breath.
We saved her life, but that leg dot, it couldn't be saved.
Lydia collapsed onto her knees, sobbing so violently she couldn't speak. The sound of her grief filled the small room, wet, raw, animal. I knelt beside her, touching her shoulder, but my gaze never left Julian. Julian stepped forward to help her up, and she shoved him away with sudden, ferocious strength.
This is your fault. All of it. Because of you, my daughter lost her leg.
I picked up the thread immediately. Julian, at such a dangerous moment, you couldn't be bothered to check on her injury? The words came out smooth, coated in righteous anger. I saw him flinch. To me, it looks like you did it on purpose. His face went crimson with desperation.
It's not my fault. You're the one who held me back and wouldn't let me out of the car.
I cut him off cold before he could finish. Enough. We're getting a divorce. You've ruined my cousin. I can't stay with you any longer. The air in the room changed. Aunt Lydia's sobs stuttered. Julian stared at me, the blood draining from his face. It was the look of a man who had just realized the ground beneath him was gone. Seeing I was dead serious, Julian began to panic. He grabbed my arm.
Elena, what are you saying? Is a divorce really necessary?
I shook off his grip. Let's take some time apart. Clear our heads. The nurse wheeled Daphne out of the operating room. The gurney hummed across the linoleum, and I stepped aside to let it pass. Daphne lay still under a thin white sheet, her face slack, her chest rising and falling in shallow rhythm. The blanket dipped flat where her left leg should have been. The stump was hidden, but I could picture it, the clean, brutal line of the surgeon's work. Aunt Lydia rushed to the bedside, her fingers hovering over her daughter's face, afraid to touch. Julian hung back, shoulders tight, jaw clamped. I moved to the window and let the cold glass press against my forehead. I had held him back. That part was true. He had tried to get to Daphne, pushed past me, tried to open her door, and I had taken his wrist. Told him the paramedics were on their way, told him we needed to wait. Had listened. He always listened when I spoke in that calm, reasonable voice. And now Daphne had a stump where her dancing dreams used to live. I felt no guilt, only a strange, quiet satisfaction that fit poorly over what I had done. A while later, Daphne woke up. The anesthesia hadn't fully worn off. Her eyes were vacant and dull, swimming in the harsh fluorescent light.
What happened to me?
I didn't answer. I lunged forward, wrapped my arms around her, and burst into noisy sobs. The tears came easily. I had practiced them in the bathroom mirror before, in the quiet moments when no one was watching. Daphne, it's all my fault. Julian, he forgot you were still in the car, so... I pulled back the blanket, straight and direct. Your leg is gone. In the next instant, a raw scream ripped from her throat. The whole ward shook. It was a sound that clawed at the walls, that drilled into the ears of everyone in the hallway. I heard footsteps pause outside the door. She tried to push herself up to see, but I pressed her back down firmly. Her body bucked against my hands, wiry and desperate. I fought hard to keep the laughter off my face. Daphne, you can be absolutely certain of one thing. I'm going to divorce him. If he hadn't decided to go to that resort, how would you have ended up like this? But she couldn't hear a word I said. Tears streamed endlessly down her face.
My leg. My leg.
She shrieked in agony, breath coming faster and wilder. Her fingers clawed at the sheet, at her own thighs, as if she could feel the missing limb, as if she could grab it and pull it back into place. Suddenly she clutched at her chest, gasping for air. Her face turned pale, then a blotchy red. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I hit the emergency call button immediately. The doctor came through the door, and Julian followed right on his heels. The doctor moved to the bedside, checking the monitors, adjusting the IV, speaking in low, urgent tones to the nurse. The moment Julian's eyes landed on Daphne, his whole body shuddered. He stared at me, eyes searing with venomous hate, but not a single word dared break past his lips. He knew exactly who held his leash. Me. And the money. He was clinging to the marriage for dear life because of that prenup. Earlier this year, I found out he'd gotten himself mixed up in high-stakes gambling. That day, he knelt in front of me, shaking like a leaf. The sedative kicked in, and Daphne slipped back into unconsciousness. Her breathing slowed, her fingers uncurled. Julian, outside, now. The hallway was quiet except for the hum of machines and the occasional squeak of rubber soles on linoleum.
Babe, can we just not go through with the divorce?
I let out a sigh and softened my tone, shaking my head gently. She lost her leg, Julian. Do you understand what that means? She was a dancer.
You planned this.
You'll sign the divorce papers. You'll walk away with nothing. The door behind us opened.
She's asking for you, Elena.
Elena, it hurts.
I know, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Behind me, Julian's footsteps retreated down the hall. I didn't turn around. Daphne, it's all my fault. Everything that happened before was my doing. Daphne, it's all my fault. Everything that happened before was my doing. The paper landed near her bandaged stump. She flinched as if I'd thrown acid.
What is this?
Divorce certificate. I filed this morning. Julian and I are done. Aunt Lydia's lips pressed into a thin line. She looked from the certificate to Daphne's ashen face, then back to me.
You divorced him? Just like that?
Just like that. I realized after what he did that I couldn't stay married to a man who would let my own cousin get hurt. He never checked the rearview mirror. He didn't even brake. He just let it happen. Daphne's eyes widened. She was still propped against the pillows, her face blotchy from crying, her hair tangled. Now her left leg ended in a thick white bandage below the knee. Amputation was the only option.
Julian? He was driving?
I was in the passenger seat. I tried to grab the wheel, I swear I did, but he was too fast. He swerved into the median. Aunt Lydia's face went through a dozen micro-expressions. Disbelief, greed, calculation. He's been gambling again. I found the stash of cash he'd hidden. He was desperate, he owed people.
That bastard. That useless deadbeat.
She was already recalculating the family ledger. Daphne was worthless. But the divorce settlement that was coin. I've already paid for the best prosthetic specialist in the country. I wired the deposit this morning. And I've set up a trust for your rehab, all expenses. No limits. It's the least I can do. Aunt Lydia's fingers tightened around the certificate.
The trust is at large.
$5 million. The same amount I was going to lose in the divorce, if Julian took half. But now that we're divorced, and he's the one at fault, I can redirect those funds to Daphne. The lie slid off my tongue like honey. In truth, the trust was a shell, funded with a fraction of that, and the paperwork had been a forgery, but I'd done my homework. The lawyer who drafted the documents had been paid in cash, and had a gambling problem of his own. He wouldn't talk. Daphne's face crumpled. She was still young enough to believe in fairy tales, and in the kindness of cousins who had once been rivals. She reached for my hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling.
Elena, I said awful things. I called you a curse.
You were in pain, I understand. Aunt Lydia cleared her throat.
And Julian? Where is he now?
I sent him to an apartment in the Old Market District. He has $100 grand in cash and his gambling addiction. He won't last a week before he loses it all. And when he does, he'll come crawling back. But I'll have evidence of his neglect, the crash report, the witness statements, the fact that he didn't even visit you in the hospital. I'll file a civil suit. He'll be broke, and you'll be paid. The room fell silent. The only sound was the hum of the machines, and Daphne's ragged breathing. Then Aunt Lydia smiled. It was a thin, cold smile. The kind she showed to bankers and dowry negotiators.
You've always been clever, Elena. Even as a child, you knew how to turn a mess into gold.
I let my shoulders slump, playing the part of the repentant martyr. I just want to make this right. I owe it to Daphne. I owe it to the family. Daphne's eyes were glassy. She looked down at where her leg used to be, and for a moment I saw the shadow of the girl she'd been. That girl was gone now, buried under gauze and morphine and the cold truth that no wealthy family would want a crippled bride.
What about Mother? What will she say?
Aunt Lydia's smile flickered. Daphne's mother, my aunt's sister-in-law, was a different kind of predator. She'd spent 40 years climbing social ladders, and Daphne was her only rung left.
I'll handle her. She'll understand that this is the best outcome. A fat settlement is better than a deformed daughter with no prospects.
The words hung in the air like poison gas. Daphne flinched, but she didn't argue. She knew the math as well as I did. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. I'll have the paperwork sent to your lawyer by morning, and I'll arrange a consultation with the prosthetic specialist for next week. Rest now, Daphne. You're going to heal. I walked to the door, my heels clicking softly on the linoleum. Aunt Lydia followed me out into the corridor.
Elena, you're sure Julian is the one to blame? The police report it didn't mention him.
I turned, letting my face show a flicker of hurt. Aunt Lydia, do you think I would lie to my own cousin? I was there. The crash was his fault. I saw him take his hands off the wheel. I saw him close his eyes. I didn't blink. The lie was a diamond now, polished to perfection. Aunt Lydia studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly.
All right. I trust you.
She didn't. But she wanted the money more than she wanted the truth. I walked down the hall, past the nurse's station, where a tired orderly was flipping through charts, past the waiting room where a man was weeping into his hands. The hospital smelled of bleach and rot, and the fading hope of people who had nowhere else to go. Pushed through the double doors into the night. The sky was clear. Stars scattered like loose change. I pulled out my phone. No messages from Julian. No notifications from the gambler's den I'd told him about. Good. The bold get the feast, the timid get the scraps, and the clueless, like Julian, get nothing but ash. I slid into my car, the leather seat cool against my back. I didn't feel guilty. I felt clean. Daphne's leg was gone. Julian was gone. And soon, my mother's schemes would crumble too. The new Elena was just beginning. I drove in silence for a long while, the city lights bleeding into streaks across the windshield. The dashboard clock read 9:47. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. I glanced at the screen, Julian. I let it ring. Then again. Then a third time. Julian, everything okay?
Babe, I'm at the apartment. The address you sent, there's a casino right downstairs. I can hear the machines from the window. Are you sure this is safe?
It's a temporary place. Just until Aunt Lydia cools off. Stay inside. Don't go exploring. Remember, it's only a few days.
I found the cash. 100 grand. Why did you leave so much?
Emergency fund. If anything happens, you'll have it. But don't touch it unless you absolutely have to. Promise me. He would touch the cash. He would walk downstairs. He would smell the smoke and hear the clatter of chips. And he would lose everything. The hospital receded in the rearview mirror. I thought of Daphne's face. They had already calculated the payout in their heads. A shattered leg for a lifetime of financial security. I pulled into the garage of my own apartment building, the one I'd never shared with Julian. The elevator smelled of old carpet and cleaning fluid. Inside, the apartment was dark and still. I walked to the window and looked down at the city. Julian was already losing his soul. Julian was sinking. Somewhere in a sterile hospital room, Daphne was learning to live without a leg. And somewhere else, my mother was probably already drafting a new marriage contract for my sister, desperate to recoup the value she'd lost. I pressed my palm against the cold glass. The new Elena was just beginning, and she had a long list of debts to collect. I took a slow breath, letting the silence settle around me. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years, the private investigator who had helped me dig up the truth about my mother's hidden accounts in my last life. It rang twice. I'm better than alive. I'm awake. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. I leaned my forehead against the window. I need you to find something my mother thinks she buried. A name, a child, a birth certificate from 19 years ago. The line went quiet. I could hear him breathing, the soft scratch of a pen against paper. It wasn't a question. I'm going after all of them, one by one. The air in the apartment felt electric. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, I was already moving, already laying the next trap, already sharpening the next blade. And for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I smiled without pretending. The hospital corridor stretched empty, the fluorescent lights humming a low, insistent drone. I stood outside Daphne's ward, the door click still echoing in my ears. Julian had slipped out 15 minutes ago, after whispering his promises. Now I had work to do. I found him in the parking lot, leaning against his car, a cigarette burning between his fingers. The smoke curled upward, thin and gray against the pale yellow security lights. He saw me, and straightened, shoving the cigarette into his mouth with a quick, guilty jerk. His voice cracked. I did, but I forgot something. I stepped closer. Close enough to smell the cheap tobacco and the faint metallic tang of hospital antiseptic clinging to his coat. We need to talk. Not here. Not about Daphne.
About what?
I let the words hang, watching the confusion flicker across his face. He wanted to read me, to find the lie, but I gave him nothing. Follow me. There's a diner 2 blocks from here. 20 minutes. I turned without waiting for his answer. The heels of my pumps clicked against the asphalt, steady and deliberate. Behind me I heard the car door open, then the low growl of the engine. He was going to follow. Good. The diner was a dive, sticky vinyl booths, a flickering neon sign that buzzed like a trapped insect. I chose the corner booth, back to the wall, eyes on the door. The waitress came, and I ordered black coffee. Julian slid in across from me, his bulk casting a shadow over the cracked formica table. The motion was too fast, too restless. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, watching the steam curl. His face went still. I took a sip. The coffee was bitter, burned. After the accident, after what happened to Daphne, I realized something. We're not enough. The marriage, it's a cage for both of us. You're unhappy. I'm unhappy. He didn't answer. His eyes tracked my face, searching for the trap. I'm proposing a divorce. A fake divorce. The word landed like a slap. His jaw tightened. Exactly what it sounds like. We sign the papers. Go to court. Legally, we are separated. But privately, nothing changes. You still live in the house. You still have access to the accounts. I still handle the business. We keep up appearances for the family, for the investors, for Aunt Lydia. I set the mug down and leaned forward. And after a year, when everyone is forgotten, we quietly remarry. He laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound.
You think I am that stupid? You would never give up control? You would never let me walk away with half your money?
I am not giving you half. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folded document. The prenup. I slid it across the table. You signed this before we married. It entitles you to exactly nothing if we divorce unless I choose to grant you something. And I will. I will give you a monthly allowance, the car, the apartment on the east side. Enough to keep Daphne comfortable. But only if you play along. He picked up the paper, scanning the lines. His thumb traced the signature at the bottom, his signature, dated 3 years ago. The weight of it pressed down on him.
Why? Why would you do this? You hate me.
I do not hate you. I am tired. Tired of the fighting. Tired of the suspicion. I want peace. And I want Daphne to stop looking at me like I am the enemy. If we are divorced, she will think she won. She will stop scheming. And you can be with her openly, without the guilt. He stared at me, and I saw the greed flicker behind his eyes. The desperation.
I wanted in writing the allowance, the apartment, everything.
You will get it. But the divorce has to be filed first. We go to court, sign the papers, make it official, then I will transfer the assets.
And if I refuse?
Then you get nothing. Daphne gets nothing. And I will make sure your name is dragged through every tabloid in the city.
Fine. When?
Tomorrow morning. I will call my lawyer. We will meet at the courthouse at 10. He walked away, and I watched him go, his shoulders hunched, his steps heavy. The courthouse lobby smelled of old wood and floor wax. Julian came 20 minutes late, unshaven, his shirt wrinkled. He looked like a man who had not slept.
This is really happening.
Yes, just a formality. The clerk stamped them, the thud of rubber against ink echoing through the hollow room. As we walked out into the pale morning sun, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders.
So, what now?
Now you go home, pack a bag. I will have the apartment keys delivered by noon. I adjusted my sleeve, smoothing the fabric. Remember, Julian, this is temporary. As long as you follow the rules, no late-night calls to Daphne, no public appearances together, everything stays smooth. You break the rules, the allowance stops. He nodded, but his eyes were already distant. Planning, scheming, he thought I was blind. One more thing, the prenup clause about cohabitation, it's still in effect. If you move in with Daphne before the year is up, I can void the entire agreement and take back everything.
You didn't mention that.
I did. Page 12, subsection B. Read it tonight. I smiled, soft and thin. Enjoy your freedom, Julian. I'll see you around. I walked to my car, the click of my heels, a steady drumbeat. Behind me, he stood motionless, trapped in his own greed. The trap was set. Now all I had to do was wait. The engine turned over, and I pulled out of the parking lot. leaving him there alone, hopeful, and already doomed. The morning sun cut through the windshield in golden slants, warming the leather seat. I drove slowly, letting the courthouse shrink in the rearview mirror. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my pulse hummed low and fast in my ears. Trap was sprung. Now the waiting game began. At the first red light, I picked up my phone and dialed my lawyer. She answered on the second ring. "It's done," he signed.
Good. I'll file the certified copies this afternoon. Do you want me to send the signed prenup addendum to his office as well?
No. Hand deliver it to his apartment. Make sure he sees it before tomorrow morning. I want him to read page 12 again, slowly.
He'll call you within 24 hours, probably to complain.
Let him. I'll screen his calls until tomorrow evening. Then I'll remind him that the allowance is tied to his compliance, not his presence. Keep me updated. I hung up, killed the engine, and sat for a moment in the gray silence. The dashboard clock read 9:47. Julian would be in his car by now, driving back to his rented studio, gnawing on the fine print. I imagined him flipping through the pages, his face reddening as he found subsection B. I took the elevator to the 10th floor. The office was quiet. My assistant wouldn't arrive until noon. I unlocked my private room, shrugged off my jacket, and poured a glass of water from the chilled pitcher on the credenza. I sat at my desk and pulled out a slim leather notebook. I wrote the date at the top, then a single line. Phase 1 complete. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I opened it. A photo of Julian, taken from across the street, standing outside a convenience store. He was buying a pack of cigarettes. My PI was already working. I saved the photo and typed a reply. Keep eyes on him. Report tonight. Then I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. Julian believed he could slip through the cracks. He didn't see the barb hidden in every clause. The tripwire anchored to his own greed.
Miss Vance?
Aunt Lydia. Of course she'd come. She must have heard from Daphne already. Send her up. And bring 2 cups of coffee black for me. Cream and sugar for her. I rose, walked to the window, and watched the city spread below. The courthouse was a tiny gray block in the distance. Julian was out there, still reeling, still scheming.
Elena, I need to talk to you. It's about Daphne's medication. The nurse said something about a new prescription.
Don't worry, Lydia. I've got it all under control. Sit down, please. We'll sort it out together. The coffee arrived. We talked about dosages, schedules, insurance forms, all the mundane details that kept the illusion alive. By the time she left, the morning had slipped into early afternoon. Beneath Phase 1 complete, I wrote, Phase 2, isolation. A month later, Daphne called me out of nowhere. I let her cry for a full 10 seconds before I answered. If I set Julian up in a place he can afford, then maybe he could take you in, keep you safe from your mother's plans. The apartment was a second-floor walk-up in the Eastern District. The building's facade was stained with years of rain and neglect. A neon sign flickered above the corner convenience store. The G was dead, so it read Amblers. I'd found the listing through a property manager who didn't ask questions. Cash up front, no references needed. The rent was cheap. Cheap enough to make a man like Julian suspicious of the deal, but I'd made sure the location sold itself. 3 blocks east, there was a betting parlor that operated under the guise of a sports bar. 2 blocks north, a basement room where the stakes climbed high enough to break a man's spine. On the same street, a pawn shop with a neon sign that never turned off. Julian had been trying to stay clean, but gambling wasn't a habit you broke with good intentions. It was a switch inside you, and all it needed was the right voltage. I drove him myself on a Tuesday afternoon.
I don't know why you're helping me, Elena, after everything.
Because I'm not a monster, Julian. And because I meant what I said, I let the sentence hang, unfinished. The silence in the car was thick enough to taste. Julian shifted in his seat, the leather creaking under him. He was trying to read my face, but I gave him nothing. The road-curved mirror on the passenger side caught his reflection, haggard, hopeful, desperate. A man who believed he was being handed a second chance. The streets began to narrow as we left the main boulevard. The asphalt grew patchy, riddled with cracks and potholes that made the car shudder. A group of men loitered outside a shuttered laundromat, cigarettes glowing in the dusk. One of them turned to watch us pass, his gaze flat and unreadable. Julian noticed. I saw his hands tighten.
This is... not the best part of town.
It's what you can afford right now. Be thankful someone's still willing to help. He didn't argue. That was the thing about Julian. He never argued when he was cornered. He just folded. The way he always folded at the poker table when he knew he was outmatched. But he never stayed folded. He always came back for the next hand. I pulled up in front of a building that looked like it had been abandoned by time itself. The brick facade was stained with decades of grime, and a rusted fire escape clung to the front like a broken ribcage. The windows on the second floor were dark, except for one, where a faint yellow light flickered a bulb on its last breath. The front door stood ajar, its frame warped, the lock long since knocked out. "This is it." Julian stared up at the building. His fingers drummed against his thigh. Nervous energy. The same energy he used to have before placing a bet, when the adrenaline was still a promise and not yet a punishment.
You want me to live here?
For now. It's temporary. A month, maybe 2, until you get back on your feet. He swallowed. I turned to face him fully. The twilight cast half his face in shadow, the other half in the sickly orange glow of a street lamp struggling to stay alive. "Once I get her away from Aunt Lydia, I'll bring her here. But only if you can prove you're not going to slip. You have to stay clean, Julian. No gambling. No betting. Not even a scratch card." He nodded, but the nod was too fast, too eager. The kind of agreement a man makes when he's already planning to break it. I got out of the car without answering. The air hit me like a wet blanket, stale, heavy with the smell of fried grease and garbage from a dumpster around the corner. A dog barked somewhere in the alley, a raw, angry sound that echoed off the walls. Julian followed me up the cracked concrete steps to the front door. Inside, the hallway was narrow and dark. A single bulb hung from a wire at the top of the landing, casting a weak pool of light that barely reached the first floor. The stairs creaked under our weight, the wood soft in places where water had rotted through. The apartment was on the second floor, at the end of the hall. I pulled out the key, turned the lock with a few stubborn clicks, and pushed the door open. It was small, a living room that doubled as a bedroom, a kitchenette with a 2-burner stove, and a sink that had a permanent ring of rust. A bathroom so narrow you could touch both walls at once. The furniture was sparse. A worn-out sofa with a stain on the armrest, a folding table with one leg shorter than the others, a twin mattress on the floor with a single pillow. Julian stepped inside. He stood in the center of the room, turning slowly, taking it all in. His shoulders dropped. The hope I'd seen in the car was fading, replaced by a grim acceptance.
It's got potential.
I leaned against the doorframe. There's a convenience store 2 blocks down, a pawn shop on the same street, and a sports bar that stays open until 4 in the morning. He glanced at me.
You've already scouted the neighborhood?
I want you to know what's around you. Support systems. The bar has a pool table. You can play pool. That's not gambling. He laughed, but it was hollow.
You think I can't find trouble in a pool game?
I think you can find trouble in a church pew, if you're determined enough. But I'm giving you a chance. Don't waste it. I left him there, standing in the middle of that tiny, grimy room, holding the keys like they might bite him. I walked back down the stairs, out the front door, and got into my car. I didn't start the engine right away. I sat there, watching the building, watching the window of his apartment. The light flicked on. A shadow moved behind the curtain. Julian was pacing. I could almost see the thoughts spinning inside his head, the calculations, the compromises, the justifications that would eventually lead him to where he was always going to go. I let myself smile. Then I drove away, but I didn't go far. There was a parking spot on the next block, behind a delivery van that shielded my car from the street. I parked there and turned off the engine. The night was settling in, the sky a deep bruised purple. Streetlights hummed overhead. A few cars passed, their headlights slicing through the dark. I had a clear view of the sports bar Julian had asked about. The sign above its door read, "The last call a cheap neon cowboy boot kicking a bottle." From where I sat, I could see the entrance, the sidewalk, the corner, where the betting parlor advertised itself with a small, tasteful placard next to the bar's door. I knew Julian wouldn't last the night. He'd unpack his single duffel bag, look around the apartment, feel the walls closing in. He'd remember Daphne's crying voice on the phone, the relief in it when I said I'd help. He'd feel the weight of that promise, heavy as an anchor. And then he'd start thinking about how easy it would be to take a walk. Just a walk, to clear his head, to see what the neighborhood had to offer. An hour passed, then 2. The lights in the apartment stayed on. I watched the window, waiting for the shadow to move toward the door. I pulled out a thermos of coffee I'd brought with me, poured a cup, and sipped it slowly. The bitterness was familiar, comforting. At 9:47 p.m., the apartment light went out. I sat up straighter, setting the cup down. The front door of the building swung open, and Julian stepped out onto the stoop. He was wearing a thin jacket, hands shoved into his pockets. He stood there for a moment, looking left, then right, like a man who hadn't decided which direction to choose. He turned right, toward the sports bar. I started the engine, eased the car out of the parking spot, and followed at a distance. Kept my lights off until I reached the main street, then flicked them on, merging into the thin traffic. Julian walked with his head down, hands still buried, moving with a purpose that betrayed his intention. He stopped at the corner of the last call. He stood outside for almost a full minute, staring at the door. I could see his profile in the light spilling from the bar's windows, the tension in his jaw, the way he licked his lips. Then he pushed the door open and went inside. I pulled over to the curb, killed the engine, and waited. The bar's windows were frosted at the bottom, but I could see the glow of a television screen mounted high on the wall, probably showing a game. I knew the layout in there. A long bar on one side, a few tables in the middle, a back room with green felt tables, where the real action happened. Julian would find his way there. He always did. 20 minutes later, he came out. He was walking faster now, his hands no longer in his pockets. He was clutching something, a slip of paper, maybe, or a receipt. He crossed the street toward the pawn shop, which was still open, its neon sign casting a sickly green pool on the sidewalk. I watched him enter. Watched through the shop's front window as he leaned over the counter, pulled out his wallet, set something on the glass. The pawnbroker, a heavy-set man with a bald head and a gold tooth, examined it, nodded, and slid a stack of bills across the counter. Julian pocketed the money. He turned and walked back toward the bar, and I smiled, because this was the moment, the exact moment. The voltage had been applied, and the switch had tripped. I started the car, pulled away from the curb, and drove home. I didn't need to watch anymore. I knew how it would end. Julian would play, lose, borrow, chase the loss, lose again, until he was in deep enough that the water closed over his head, and then he'd call me, desperate, begging for a way out, and I would have one ready. A week passed. I didn't contact him. I didn't answer when Daphne called, crying that her mother had found out she was talking to Julian and had locked her in her room. I let the calls go to voicemail. I let the tension build. Then Friday night, my phone buzzed at 2:13 a.m. Julian's name lit up the screen. I let it ring 3 times. 4. Then I answered, my voice groggy, manufactured concern. His voice was ragged, raw. A long pause. I could hear him breathing, shallow and fast.
I gambled. I lost everything. The rent money, the food money. I'm in debt to some bad people. They're going to come for me tomorrow if I don't have $5,000.
Sat up in bed, let the silence stretch.
I know. I'm sorry. But you're the only one who can help. Please. I'll do anything. I'll sign whatever you want. I'll stay away from Daphne. I'll leave town. Just get me out of this.
I leaned back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling. The same way you promised you'd stay away from the poker table? The same way you leave alone the betting parlor? Your word means nothing, Julian.
I know, but I'm desperate.
I took a breath, let him hear the weariness in it. Fine. I'll help you one more time. But this is the last, and you're going to do exactly what I say. I hung up. Then I dialed another number.
Elena, what's happened?
Julian just called me. He lost all his money gambling. He's in deep with loan sharks. He wants me to bail him out.
I knew it. That parasite?
She's moving in with him tomorrow. I'm going to bring Daphne to him.
Wait, you're gonna help him prey on my daughter?
I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. And then I'm going to show her exactly what she signed up for. He needs $5,000 to pay off his debt. I'm going to give it to him, in cash. And I'm going to have her hand it over, in front of Daphne, with a witness. I'm going to make sure she sees the kind of man she chose over her own family. After that, she'll come crawling back, and you can marry her off to whatever old man you please. I ended the call and set the phone aside. The moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting pale shadows on the wall. I closed my eyes and smiled in the dark. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and failure. I stepped inside with the divorce certificate held loose in my grip, letting the paper catch the fluorescent light. Daphne was propped against her pillows, her face still carrying that sallow undertone from the surgery. The sheets fell flat where her right leg should have been. Her eyes locked onto the embossed seal, the official stamp, the signature at the bottom. For a fraction of a second, something bright and hungry flickered across her face.
What's that?
Divorce papers. Julian and I are officially through.
You poor thing. I always knew he wasn't good enough for you.
Actually, I thought you'd want to see it. Consider it a souvenir.
I don't know what you mean.
Of course you don't. The wedding's in 3 days, I said. Congratulations. I heard Aunt Lydia was thrilled about the dowry. Daphne's composure cracked. A muscle in her cheek tightened. She showed me the photos, I continued. The groom seems dedicated. The kind of man who knows what he wants. My voice was even, but Daphne knew the shape of a threat when she heard one. Her mother had been weaving them her whole life.
You did this, Daphne whispered.
Did what? This?
The old man. The money. You knew Mother would sell me to the highest bidder.
I tilted my head. I simply passed along a profile. Your mother made her own choices. Just like you made yours when you wished the crash had taken me instead. Daphne's hands curled into fists against the blanket. The hospital gown pulled tight at her shoulders.
You have no idea what it's like, she said, her voice rising. Being trapped, watching you take everything. The house, the cars, the way Julian looked at you like you hung the moon.
He looked at my bank account like it hung the moon.
And now look at me. Look what I've become.
I let the silence stretch. The clock ticked. A machine beeped in steady rhythm. You know, I said, I was thinking about hiring you some help, a caregiver, someone to assist with your recovery. Daphne's head snapped up. Suspicion bled through her features.
Why would you do that?
Because I'm a generous person.
You're lying. I'm serious.
I pulled out my phone and opened the agency's profile I'd bookmarked. I've got references here. A woman named Marta, 43 years old, 10 years of experience, excellent reviews. She can start tomorrow. Daphne stared at me. The calculation ran behind her eyes like a thief counting loot. If you think you'll thank me, she'll do whatever you need. Bathing, dressing, medication reminders. I'm paying her directly, so you don't have to worry about cost. The trap door opened. I watched Daphne step through it.
What's the catch?
No catch. Just someone to help you through this difficult time. Daphne's lips pressed together. She wanted to refuse. But the alternative was relying on Aunt Lydia, who had already abandoned her in favor of the wedding arrangements.
Fine, she said quickly. Send her.
I smiled and made the call. Marta arrived the next morning. A few things, I said. She's going to test you. Push boundaries. See how far she can go.
I've handled difficult patients before.
She's not difficult. She's cruel. She'll insult you. She'll find the things that hurt and press on them.
And what am I supposed to do when that happens?
Endure it. For now. 3 times the standard rate, I reminded her. Paid weekly. Cash. Marta nodded. I opened the door and let her in. Daphne was sitting up straighter than before, her hair brushed, her face composed. This is Marta, I said. Your new caregiver.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Daphne. I'm here to help with whatever you need.
Daphne's eyes swept over her. I saw the catalog of weaknesses being drafted.
I have a lot of needs. Are you sure you're qualified?
I've been a caregiver for 10 years. I'm certified in wound care, mobility assistance, and physical therapy support.
Certified. And how much is Elena paying you to spy on me?
Marta kept her composure, but I saw her fingers tighten on the strap of her bag. She understood Daphne better now. She's not spying. She's caring for you. Something you might try to remember.
You can leave now. Your charity has been delivered.
I didn't move. What I wanted was to watch. To see the first crack appear. Daphne responded by shoving a styrofoam cup off the bedside table. Water splashed across the floor, soaking Marta's shoes.
Oops. I guess you'll have to clean that up.
Marta bent down without a word, pulling paper towels from the dispenser. I stood in the doorway, watching her mop up the mess. The mask was slipping. I could see the real Daphne pushing through. I let the comment land and then dissolve. Daphne's jaw tightened. She wanted to wound me, but I had already pulled the arrow from her.
I'll need to take your temperature now, Miss Daphne.
Don't touch me. I said don't touch me.
The shout echoed against the tile walls. Marta stood frozen with the thermometer in her hand. I watched the scene unfold as I'd intended. Daphne was showing her, revealing the rot beneath the polite surface.
Don't come back, Elena.
Darling, I'll see you at your wedding. I walked down the hallway, past the nurse's station, past the waiting room filled with anxious families. Daphne was predictable. Marta was patient, but patience has its limits. I walked out into the gray afternoon. The air tasted like rain. The sky pressed low overhead, heavy with clouds that refused to break. I slid into the driver's seat and sat there for a moment, hands resting on the wheel. My phone buzzed in my bag. I fished it out and saw a text from an unknown number. "Miss Elena, Marta here." She threw the bedpan at me. "I'm okay. Just wanted you to know. Document it. Every incident. I'll increase your rate." The reply came almost instantly. Understood. I set the phone down and looked at the hospital entrance through the rain-streaked windshield. Daphne thought she had won something by shouting at me. She thought she had driven me away, but I had placed a witness in her room. Someone who would record every outburst, every tantrum, every moment of cruelty. The hospital had protocols. If a patient attacked staff repeatedly, they could be flagged, transferred to a psychiatric unit, stripped of privileges, and Aunt Lydia would be forced to see the reports. She could not bury them the way she buried everything else. I started the car and pulled out of the lot. The wipers swept across the glass in a steady rhythm. Rain began to fall in earnest, splattering against the roof. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Julian's old number. I almost laughed. He had been dead for 2 weeks, and someone had already recycled his line. I let it ring and go to voicemail. The road wound through the city. Traffic was light. I took the long way back streets, past the old bakery where I used to buy bread as a child, past the park where Daphne and I had once played on the same swing set. That memory surfaced unbidden. I crushed it before it could take shape. By the time I pulled up to my building and parked in the underground garage, the concrete walls echoed with the sound of my footsteps as I walked to the elevator. Inside, the mirrored walls reflected a woman I barely recognized. Her jaw was set. Her eyes were flat. She looked like someone who had been fighting a long war. The elevator doors opened onto my floor. I stepped into the hallway and stopped. A figure stood outside my apartment door. It took me a moment to place him. The cheap suit, the nervous way he shifted on his feet. "Marcus?"
"Miss Elena, I am sorry to show up like this, but I need to talk to you."
"What is wrong?"
"They found Julian's body, but I heard something else. The loan sharks aren't the only ones looking for you."
"What do you mean?"
"There were people in the hospital asking about you, men who looked like they worked for Julian's old associates. They wanted to know who set him up."
I felt a cold thread run through my chest.
"Be careful, Miss Elena. You have made enemies, and they don't play by the same rules you do."
I stood in the silence of my apartment, listening to the rain beat against the windows. The divorce papers sat on my desk. Daphne's wedding was in 2 days. I need a favor. I need protection. The game was not over. It was only shifting into a new phase, and I would be ready. The caregiver arrived at 10 in the morning, Mrs. Tate. She carried a worn leather bag stuffed with bandages and antiseptic. Daphne lay propped against 3 pillows in the rented flat, the small one I had chosen, with narrow windows that faced a brick wall and a bathroom door that stuck in the humidity. She looked fragile, the way a snapped blade still looks dangerous in the right light. I said, standing at the foot of the bed. I kept my voice light. "I have some errands. You'll be in good hands." Daphne's eyes flicked to the caregiver, then back to me. Something passed through them. A calculation. A quick weighing of threat and opportunity, she said, her voice thin.
"You've been so generous, Elena. I don't know how to thank you."
Gratitude was a knife wrapped in velvet. I smiled. "I'll be back by evening. Mrs. Tate knows the routine." I turned at the door, letting my gaze linger on the glass of water beside Daphne's bed, half full, within easy reach. Then I stepped into the hallway and pulled the door until it clicked, leaving it open a crack. I didn't leave. I settled into the chair in the narrow hallway, just out of sight, the angle of the crack providing a sliver of the bedroom. The light from the window fell in a stripe across the floor, dust motes drifting through it like snow. For a moment, there was silence. Mrs. Tate moved around the room, her footsteps steady and unhurried. The tap ran briefly. A drawer opened and closed.
Then Daphne said, "The water is warm."
Mrs. Tate's voice came back, calm. Daphne's tone shifted, still soft, amused.
"You're standing wrong. Your shadow falls across my face. I can't rest when someone's shadow is on me."
Mrs. Tate paused. I saw her silhouette shift, stepping to the side.
"Is that better?" "Marginally."
A pause. Mrs. Tate complied. The bed springs creaked as Daphne adjusted herself.
"My pillow is too flat."
"Another rustle? There you are."
"No, that's worse. You're doing it wrong. Do you even know how to fluff a pillow? It's not complicated. Lift, shake, drop. Lift, shake, drop. Did you skip the shake?"
"I'm sorry,
Don't apologize. Just do it correctly."
I watched through the crack. Mrs. Tate's face remained impassive, but her shoulders had tightened. She fluffed the pillow again, methodically. Daphne watched her with the predatory stillness of a cat that had found a mouse with a broken leg.
"That's acceptable. Now the blanket. It's twisted at the corner. Straighten it."
Mrs. Tate moved to the foot of the bed, bent, and adjusted the blanket. Her hands were steady.
"No, not like that. You're pulling too hard on the left side. Are you even paying attention?"
I'm doing my best."
Daphne's voice sweetened, an oily veneer over the malice beneath.
"That's fine. I can work with that. Just do exactly what I say, and try not to think too much. Thinking slows you down."
Mrs. Tate straightened and turned toward the door. I saw her face for a moment pale, lips pressed into a thin line. She would last, I judged. 3 days, maybe 4, not that it mattered. Mrs. Tate said, her voice barely strained.
"Don't be long. And bring me the radio from the kitchen. The one on the shelf above the stove."
"The shelf above the stove? That's high. I'm not sure I can reach with my back."
"Then find a stool. Use a chair. Figure it out."
Mrs. Tate left the room. Her footsteps passed my hiding spot without pause. The bathroom door clicked, and then the tap ran. I settled deeper into my chair, my hands folded in my lap. The air in the hallway was stale, tinged with the smell of antiseptic and old wallpaper. When Mrs. Tate returned with the water, Daphne wasted no time.
"Put it on the nightstand. No farther. Now turn it to the classical station. Not that one. The other one. No, that's jazz. Are you deaf?"
The radio crackled, shifted through static, settled on a Mozart piano sonata. The delicate notes seemed absurd in the small, dim room. Daphne closed her eyes, a satisfied smile curling her lips.
"That will do. Now sit in the corner. The chair by the door. Don't make noise."
I watched the minutes pass on my wristwatch. 10, 15. The Mozart ended, and a symphony began.
"I need to use the bathroom." "Careful, you're rushing. You're always rushing. Do you want me to fall?"
"I'm supporting you. Take your time."
"My time? You're tugging at me like I'm a sack of potatoes. Slow down. Think about what you're doing. Feel the movement. Are you even present in your body?"
I had to press my hand against my mouth. The irony was exquisite. This woman who had been tormented herself, now reduced to petty cruelties against a hired nurse. The bathroom door closed. I heard the toilet flush, then the sink running.
"The towel is rough. Bring me a soft one from the drawer. Then find one. I don't care how."
When they emerged, Daphne's face was flushed with exertion and triumph. She had found a weapon that cost her nothing. The afternoon stretched on. I ate a sandwich I had brought in my bag, never moved from the chair. The crack in the door was my window into a theater of quiet cruelty. By 4 o'clock, Mrs. Tate's hands were trembling. She stood in the corner, staring at the wall, her jaw tight. Daphne was reading a magazine, her expression peaceful, as if the torment had been a refreshing exercise.
I'm back. Mrs. Tate has been wonderful. Haven't you?
That was quick. She's a treasure. I'm so grateful you found her. I feel safe.
I'm glad. She'll be here every day. I've already paid her for the month.
You're so good to me.
I studied the hand on my skin, the delicate fingers, the perfect nails. A hand that had never done real work. A hand that had pointed and plotted, but I knew the cost of her survival. I know what I'm doing. Daphne's smile wavered, for a second, then locked back into place.
Of course you do. That's why I trust you.
From the kitchen came the sound of a glass breaking. Daphne's eyes hardened, her grip tightening on my wrist.
Clumsy woman. You should deduct it from her pay.
And I did not move. The afternoon light shifted, shadows lengthened across the floor. The Mozart had ended. In the silence, I listened to the sound of Daphne breathing. My revenge was incomplete. I let myself feel the satisfaction, thin and cold, like winter sunlight through frost. Daphne's fingers remained curled around my wrist, but her attention had already shifted toward the kitchen.
I'm so sorry, Mrs. Ashford. I'll replace it. I'll deduct it from my own pay, of course.
Of course you will. But let's not pretend a single glass covers the disruption.
Mrs. Tate, you're assuring. It was an accident. Daphne understands.
Oh, I'm always on edge. That's why I need someone steady.
I've given you a bed, a caregiver, and a month of her wages. If that's management, I'm doing a poor job. You're still here, still comfortable. She laughed again, but this time it caught in her throat. She looked down at her own hands, turning them over as if searching for something. The word tasted bitter.
I suppose I should be grateful.
And I meant it for reasons she didn't understand. And I meant it for reasons she didn't understand. The debt was accruing. Every moment she tormented Mrs. Tate, every petty cruelty witnessed only by me, was another thread pulled tight in the web I was weaving. Julian's fall would be sharper if he knew she was alone, despised, with no one but me to watch. And his own ruin would taste all the more bitter when he learned I had been the one paying for her care out of the money he had lost to me. From the kitchen, the kettle whistled. Mrs. Tate returned with a cup of tea, hands still unsteady. She placed it on the bedside table with exaggerated care. Daphne did not thank her. She picked up the cup, sniffed it, and set it down.
Too much sugar. I said no sugar.
I didn't add any...
Then it's bitter. Take it away.
Daphne turned her face to the window.
Bring me another. Properly made this time.
The caregiver's eyes met mine, a flicker of desperation. I gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. She took the cup and retreated. I remained standing. The afternoon light had grown longer, the room darker. Daphne's profile was sharp against the fading light, beautiful, brittle, already a ghost of herself. She would not survive this house. She would not survive the months ahead. The loneliness. The knowledge that no one was coming to save her. And when the world would hear only that Mr. Lawrence's young wife had been tormented until she simply didn't survive. But they would not know who truly held the whip. I moved to the window, looking down at the street. A car passed, headlights cutting through dusk. Julian might be in any one of those cars, or in a bar 3 blocks away, losing the last of what he had. The two of them, circling, I could feel the arc of their descent, the gravity I had set in motion. Daphne said from the bed, her voice small now, almost vulnerable.
You'll stay a while longer, won't you? I don't want to be alone when she brings the tea.
Of course. I sat in the chair by the door, the same chair where I had sat the first day Mrs. Tate arrived. The same chair from which I had watched every act of petty tyranny, every moment of fear in a caregiver's eyes. I had chosen for her fragility as much as her skill. The next phase was quiet, but not yet. The evening deepened. Mrs. Tate returned with a fresh cup. The broccoli Daphne accepted it without a word, took a sip, and nodded once. I let the silence grow. The first payoff was complete. The interest had begun to compound,